sorry I'm late. I was just on the phone at the request of Secretary Blinken, our Secretary of State, speaking with a high-ranking State Department official, and I had conveyed my desire to have the Consul General from the People's Republic of China in the New York mission expelled, and I've been informed that the Consul General is no longer in the New York mission. I also requested the State Department to take appropriate action in response to the dangerous and outrageous actions taken by the People's Republic of China, and they are involved. Happy to take any questions.
Let's start with Melissa.
Governor Hochul, hi. What harm do you believe may have been done by Linda Sun's alleged actions? So what concerns you the most in terms of whether she was able to influence correspondence, the words that came out of your mouth or Governor Cuomo's mouth? And separately, should it have been detected sooner? And if not, what are you going to do about that?
Well, the moment we discovered the misconduct, we fired this individual. This individual who served in my administration 15 months was fired by this administration, and we reported immediately to law enforcement. And in the meantime, we've been helping the Department of Justice for many months, and we'll continue to work with them. And I will say this, the indictment lays out very clearly evidence that these actions taken by Linda Sun were an absolute betrayal of the trust of two administrations in state government, lying and misleading to these administrations, breaking our ethics rules, and even forging my signature on documents. But more importantly than that, that this is a betrayal of New Yorkers and of the American people. Public service is a calling. It should be revered, highly respected. And people in these positions step up to serve the people, not betray them. And the allegations show that the individual in question, Linda Sun here, did exactly the opposite. So in short, I have said it. I am furious. I'm outraged by this behavior, and we're going to continue working alongside the administration, get the Department of Justice to get this done. She was a mid-level aide hired by my predecessor. She worked here for more than a decade, and she lied to our administration. She violated our ethics rules. And as I said, the moment we discovered this, she was gone. So happy to take any questions, but there are protocols in place for dealing with any conversations with foreign governments. A vetting process is in place. And, you know, the allegations, again, many occurred before our tenure, some occurred during the time. She did not have contact, you know, with me very often, other than seeing outside, you know, at a parade or so, but no real role in terms of my policies. But what she did was she used that position and betrayed the trust as defined, as outlined in the indictment.
Morgan.
Hi, Governor. So just, you said there was an evidence of misconduct. Just looking for kind of a timeline there. What evidence of misconduct did you guys notice? And do you feel like, you know, looking back, is that something that maybe you should have alerted the public about sooner? Why was this, you know, something that you guys alerted law enforcement about, and, you know, we're finding out now? And are you guys going to be doing an investigation at all into the administration to see just what sort of level of access of information that she had?
Her misconduct that came to our attention was addressed with immediately, and we went to law enforcement to take the appropriate steps. I'm not able to talk about that now. There's an ongoing investigation. There'll be court proceedings. There may be a trial. All this will be revealed, but it's not information that I can divulge at this time.
And are you guys doing an internal investigation?
We are working hard and have been for many, many months to ensure that there is integrity in everything we do, including anytime anyone in my administration has a conversation with a representative from a foreign government, that there are a number of levels of vetting associated with that. So there's a number of eyes on this. What is the purpose? And we'll be focusing on that as well, and always looking to improve, no doubt about it.
Governor, have you been interviewed by the feds about this case? And also, you said she was a mid-level aide, but according to the indictment, she had quite a bit of autonomy, it appears, where she was, again, forging your signature, she was communicating and actually blocking meetings with the Taiwanese government or officials, and also she did end up setting up meetings between you and a delegation from China, and according to the indictment, was also working with you to even visit China. So can you explain that, and especially when you just said you didn't have that much contact
Well,
with her?
as governor, when I was working in the Cuomo administration as lieutenant governor, she was acting on their behalf and representing them when it comes to relationships with the Chinese government. And there were suggestions that I go to China, which I declined.
What about the FBI? Have you been interviewed by the FBI, by the Eastern District?
They asked me one question.
So you met with them?
No,
How was the question?
I'm not able to talk about it, but it had to do with identifying whether or not something was my signature, and that was it.
Don? Governor, first of all, you mentioned something about a vetting process before. Is that new, or had that been in place before? Any specifics you can give on that? And additionally,
That started last spring.
Would that have been after these?
I don't know the exact time frame.
And you mentioned, or in the indictment, it discusses Linda Sun's effort to change public statements, that sort of deal. Are there any particular statements that were changed that irk you, and do you acknowledge Taiwan as an independent sovereign nation?
I am not aware of statements that were altered while I was governor on behalf of my administration. There's references to proclamations, for example, issuing proclamations without approval from the administration. That's wildly inappropriate. No one should be doing that. And that is the scope of what I understand it to be.
On Taiwan, do you acknowledge Taiwan as an independent sovereign nation?
I support the Biden administration when it comes to a representation of our foreign interests. I'm not going to intercede in that. I support what the Biden administration does.
Ben? The FBI director has called the Chinese intelligence like a broad and unrelenting threat. I mean, do you think there needs to be a higher level of vetting or sort of discussion of who is hired for jobs that are working in Asian American
Certainly,
communities?
and this is an individual who started way before my time, who was put in the position of liaison to the Asian community and global trade issues. So that predated our time. Obviously, everyone knows the length of time that she was with me versus her past work. But the bottom line is that we all must be vigilant, and every level of government must be vigilant to protect our interests. And that is why my conversation with the State Department was strong and said these were potentially dangerous activities. Again, her access to information was fairly limited, and we're talking about more correspondence and invitations and information like that. But another time, another office, another state, I mean, we have to always have our guard up about those foreign agents who are looking to infiltrate any level of government.
Do you think there needs to be like a higher level of background checks or something specific going forward or something like that?
We have very high levels of background checks. They take an enormous amount of time. They will go back to basically people's kindergarten activities. So I feel confident in our vetting process right now. It is lengthy, it is intensive, and again, individuals who joined my administration after having been previously hired did not have to go through a different process. They were just basically brought on, some of the individuals, not many, a handful of them. But we have a very, very strict vetting process. State police is involved, fingerprinting, background on everything.
Rebecca, Maya, and then we're going to go.
There are several Republicans, including the Senate Minority Leader, who are calling for an independent investigation, appointment from the AG of an independent investigator. Is that something that you're considering, and do you have concerns about what this indictment might mean for the Chinese American community in New York, which has been experiencing very high levels of hate crime, and what this might mean for hate crimes moving forward?
This better not have an impact on our AAPI community. We are proud of our diversity. I participate with this community. They have been subjected to hate crimes at levels that are just abhorrent to me. They should never have fear walking down the streets or getting on our subways. I will always protect and defend them. So this is an isolated incident of one individual who has been apprehended, and I want to make sure that no one ever considers having any repercussions on the AAPI community. They are very important to us. So no.
And regarding the calls for independent investigations, appointment of a special prosecutor, that some Republicans in the state are calling for bipartisan independent investigations. Is that something that you're considering, or have you spoken with anyone about that prospect?
I would, obviously this arrest occurred yesterday, just a little over 24 hours ago. Also, I believe that there was a very thorough investigation done by the Eastern District of New York. I mean, the detail, the length of their indictment is quite voluminous and impressive of what they're able to glean from this individual's activities and her relationship to the People's Republic of China. So obviously we look at everything, but there's often calls to do things, and I have to make sure it's the right thing, and what that would add to the conversation beyond what we already know, and what we know is quite extensive.
Do you think that they use the term infiltration? Do you think that there's been an infiltration
No.
by the CCP?
No.
Maya, last one.
Governor, what's your reaction to Republican House candidates using you to boost themselves as they compete right now over Son most recently, but also things like congestion pricing?
I don't think it's a newsflash that Republicans will criticize the Democrat in power when they run for office. That's as old as the ages. Nothing new there.
Can you explain the State Department's role? Your communications, you mentioned something off the top about communicating with Secretary Blinken. Can you explain how that went down today?
Right. When we first became aware of this, we were deciding what actions we want to see. My first instinct was to have the Consul General no longer in that position. And so we reached out to the White House. Secretary Blinken, the Secretary of State, directed an undersecretary to communicate with me. The call was just a little bit of, I was busy here. The call came in when I was momentarily out of this room, and they conveyed to me that that person is no longer the Consul General at the New York mission. And
Does that mean they were expelled, or like?
I know that they're no longer in their position. That's all I know.
What's the
Thanks,
connection of
everybody.
Yeah,
that with this
so
situation?
Linda.
We don't understand what the Consul General had to do with.
I believe that the Chinese government, with their behavior in doing this and working with Linda's son, is not acceptable, and it is a statement by us that we're not tolerating this, and anybody representative of that government needs to move on. That was what we made clear. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.